It's Recovery This Week. I'm Damon Frank,
I'm Shauna McKenna Vick.
and we're doing Recovery This Week for the week of August 16th. We're halfway
Yes,
through, Shauna. Halfway through.
halfway through August. It's going way too quickly, Damon, and I'm going to take over as host a bit for today.
Wow.
Yes,
I'm
so
glad. I am glad.
I'm going to relieve you of host, and now to our viewers, this is a surprise to Damon because we prepped for this, and I did not say this, but I want to take over as host today, and I'd like to interview Damon a bit because we
Really?
are celebrating a huge, huge milestone. And I want to recognize him as the strong man who walks the walk and talks the talk. He doesn't just, say he's in recovery or whatever. Damon is a man who I admire. I admire you, Damon, since I'm talking
Thank
to
you.
you. I
Thank you very
admire
much. I'm
you. I
blushing.
admire your sobriety. I admire your dedication to your work and to helping people both on the business front and on the recovery front. I'm inspired by your energy and enthusiasm and creativity. But most of all, I want to take a minute to just address the huge gift that is you and your 31 years
Wow.
of recovery. So congratulations, Damon. 31 years.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Thank you
And in
so
our
much.
no, you're welcome. In when we go to meetings, people say, well, how'd you do it? So I'd love to just chit chat about how you do it and, on a daily basis, but also kind of looking back over the last 31
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shauna. That was so sweet of you. I was somebody who didn't really celebrate my recovery birthday anniversary for
Okay.
many, many years. I mean, I did, and sometimes I did early on, I did. And then as it went, it kind of faded away, to be honest, and then it came back the more I got involved in 12-step groups because I figured, you know what, if I don't say it, then other people, there might be somebody sitting there saying, well, I'm not going to make it through the year. And they
Right.
see me doing 31 years. They go, well, if that
If
guy could
that's
do it,
possible.
if
Yeah.
that's anything is possible. And I would say that's absolutely true. But thank you so much. And this has
But
been, recovery this week has been so fun, so much fun
it is.
because we
It
get to
is
just
fun.
talk about what's going on in our lives in recovery.
Yes. Yes. And that's part of it too. Like I'm sure of those 31 years, I don't know, I can't do the math on 31 times 365, but I would hazard to say not every day you woke up with like bells on and ready to just go out and conquer the world. And,
Yeah.
at least for me this morning, we both said we were a little slow this morning. And for me, I felt really paralyzed because my to-do list is so long, and I was sitting in my sunroom. I'd already finished my prayer meditation. I'd been to a meeting, everything. And I'd had coffee. I'd even had, chia pudding for breakfast. So I had protein.
Wow.
I did everything and I couldn't move. I was just stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
You know
had to
what?
deploy some strategies, but
That's
I
it.
thought we might talk a bit about that,
Well, recovery
talking about,
capital, which you call it, you call this recovery capital, Shauna, because, and I do believe, although it is a day at a time, it is a forever mindset,
mm-hmm,
right? Okay. So the application is a day at a time. And I,
right.
and I would say to anyone who's early in recovery, I think just keeping it within that 24-hour zone is probably the best thing that you could do. That
Mm-hmm,
and that comes from us 12-step groups, obviously. I didn't
right.
make that up. You didn't make that up. But there is this thing with recovery capital, which is doing the deed and having a
Doing the work.
buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a buffer, right?
And building things around us, right? Like, so one of them we talked about last week was the social capital, right? Having
Yes.
recovered people around you who you can develop friendships with, who you can rely on. As we grow in recovery, we become less flaky. We
Yes.
develop stronger relationships, and we can say, hey, listen, I'm struggling. So I was texting with a girlfriend in recovery, and I said, I'm paralyzed. I can't move. And that's something I don't normally do. I don't like to tell people that I'm not like all together, right? But I've learned that I have to be honest and vulnerable.
Wow.
So
Yes.
and to be able to say, I can't move. And I said all these things. So my microwave was beeping because I had water boiling for the hummingbird food. So it was beeping. The laundry, the washer went off and the dryer went off. And I'm sitting there just like, I can't even move. But at some point we have to parent ourselves, right? And just say, get up and move. So at least I got up and I went over to the espresso maker and I got a couple shots of espresso because I thought maybe I hadn't had enough coffee. But I also recognize that some days are like that, where we don't come out with guns a-blazing, but we still have to do things. And
Yes.
that is, when I think of other areas of personal recovery capital, goal setting. So I took out my planner. I wrote down all the things I had to do. I looked at the few things that were easy, like quick wins, and one of the quick
Yes.
wins was getting the hummingbird feeders from outside and bringing them in, putting them in the sink. That was a very quick win, right? I
Yeah.
know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but you have to
Oh, I love
understand.
quick wins. Quick wins are big.
I know, but I didn't want to get off the chair. I wanted to sit there for another hour. So just the act of getting up and moving
Yes.
my body. So there's the other thing. There's another tip. And you would have
Yes.
seen this in your 31 years of recovery and known this. When you're feeling one way and you can't get out of it, move a muscle, change a thought, right? So I knew if I just moved my body, I
Yes.
had to change a thought. And I thought, oh, I can do I always have hand weights. I've shared this before everywhere, like in different rooms of the house. So I can always do some. And I thought, oh, I haven't done weights in a week. And there's the negative thought. Like I was really going to spiral, like, oh, I haven't done weights in a week. I can't get moving. Do you hear all that negative stuff? And I
Yes.
had to move. I just had to move and change
Well,
my thought.
I have to tell you, one of the things that I have realized look, I look back and I was like, okay, most of my life I've been sober. Definitely most of my adult life, right? Which is a trip for me.
Mm-hmm.
That alone is like some weird Twilight Zone thing that it's really hard for me to wrap my head around. And
Have you
same with
been
you.
sober longer than you were
Oh
not
yeah.
sober
Oh yeah.
in your
Yeah. I
life?
mean,
Wow.
yeah, because I got into my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been sober longer than I
Longer
was
than,
alive, right? Like, and with that comes a great advantages, okay? But with that also comes great warning signs because like great danger
ooh,
because you forget. And to say that I remember everything about getting sober would not be honest because I don't, right? Like,
right.
and that's what's good about being around other people who are not, that are in early sobriety. Like, you have a
Mm-hmm.
huge gift because, you're someone too. You've been sober most of your adult life, right? Like a huge
Mm-hmm.
chunk of your adult life. So the fact of the matter is when you're doing the deal, I think the thing that I realized, it was interesting because this year was tough for me. I'm gonna be I don't I'm somebody who hates being vulnerable. This year was tough for me. It was just tough because it was kind of a rebuilding year. But one
Right.
thing that I always underestimate is two things. There's two things.
One thing that you always underestimate is two
The
things. I
two
love
things. The
that.
one thing
The
I always
two things.
underestimate is two things. And they're tied together. They're actually one thing. Is one is there's a lot of power in just keeping going no matter what you feel like. And that also is you don't understand the impact that the years will accumulate if you just keep moving forward, even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't feel like it in the time. And you're one of those people, Shauna, that I see it's like, well, I don't feel like it, but your feelings don't dictate your actions.
Correct. Correct. Yes, I love that because my feelings don't dictate my actions and my intentions don't just sit there. I always try to put action behind my intention. So my intention for most days is, well, my intention every day is to stay sober, right? So I thank God for keeping me
Yeah.
sober and
Yeah.
ask for another 24 hours. But my intention is to be a productive person with purpose, like to get things done and to not squander hours. So that is my intention in the morning. But I have to put action behind it, right? People
Yeah.
can intend to get sober, intend to change. Like I know I have a client who says, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. Okay, well, I downloaded this app or I did this or I did that. I'm going to do better. And so that's the only action they took. They haven't actually taken the action to say, well, I'm going to follow this app that decreases my drinking and I'm going to stick to the app and I'm sticking to what the app suggests, right? So putting action behind your intention is really where it happens. And no one can do that for you.
You're right. Well, you and I know
No one can do
something.
that for you.
You and I, because they always say it's like, well, getting sober, it's out front. Everything is to be known. There's no secrets,
Mm-hmm.
but there is actually a secret. There is something that you and I know that a lot of people that are coming in don't know. There's a couple things,
Okay.
but there is one huge one that I see that a lot of people don't. It's there, it's in plain sight, but people don't see it. And this I've seen is the game changer of people getting sober and not getting sober. Like when you really push it, if they have this one skill,
Oh, I'm going to
I
have to get my
see
pen out and write it down.
this is big. And and it's so simple, Shauna, that I have told people this and they don't get it. They don't
Okay.
get it. Okay. And especially with people who chronically relapse, they don't get this one thing. And when they get it, I start to see the light going off. And here it is. It doesn't success in sobriety. It doesn't matter how you feel. It matters what you do. And this is very simple. So because yeah, of course, no. Like most of the things that I've achieved in my sobriety, I've done a lot of things. Like I'm very hard on
Mm-hmm.
myself, but I've done a lot of stuff,
You've done a
like
lot of, you've been very
a
successful in
lot of stuff.
business and you've done a
Yeah.
lot of stuff for recovery. I mean, think of when you started on Clubhouse, when you started Recovered Life, when you did all the
Yeah.
coaching, like you have done a lot of stuff. And I've only known you for 3 years.
And and I don't feel like I do enough. I don't feel like I really do anything. Like honestly, I feel like I need to do more. But the reality of the situation is what I think and feel. One thing somebody told me who loved me enough, Shauna, to tell me the truth, and I wouldn't say it to somebody, well, maybe depending on who they are. Sometimes I would say it to a knucklehead guy that was like me in his 20s that just can't get his stuff together. They said, look, I love you enough to tell you the truth. We could give a shit how you feel. We don't care. We care how you feel after you get a year sober. And if you
Mm-hmm.
keep feeling depressed, you keep feeling anxious, then yes, I want to hear that. But what you feel in the moment, especially in early sobriety, we could care less. As long as you don't drink, we could care less because what we know is you are going to change how you feel into it's like the clouds. And I was got
Okay,
sober
wait,
in San
wait.
Francisco.
Don't go off on a tangent here.
Okay.
You
It's
don't
like
give
clouds.
a crap on how they feel.
No,
It's what they do.
it's what they do.
It's
No,
what
it
they do.
doesn't
So if
matter
you're
what you
feeling
feel.
crappy, okay, no, hang on. If you're in early recovery and I am feeling crappy, I am feeling hopeless, and you tell me I don't really give a flying French fry about how you feel, it's what you do. So what are you going to do? Is your direction
Yes.
in that moment, Damon? What are you going to do in this moment?
Well, first of
Call
all, why
someone,
wouldn't you? Why
read a
wouldn't you
prayer.
feel crappy? Here's the other thing. Key
Yeah,
in some reality here because you've just lost your best friend, which is drugs and
right,
alcohol. Now you've
right,
been told you're never going to drink again or you're going to die. And
right. A
even
lot of
if you
fear there.
do
Yep.
die, it's not going to be pleasant death. Okay.
Mm-mm.
And the alternative is you have to totally surrender, which for somebody like me, just shoot me right there. I mean, forget about it. Like I hate that. So of course, why wouldn't you feel anxious, depressed, and despair?
Right.
Why wouldn't you? That's a
Oh no,
normal,
I agree,
that's a
but what do you
normal
do?
feeling.
What do you
That's
do
the
in that
key. The
moment?
absolute, you
Right.
make your damn bed, you make your bed. And this is the thing that I always tell if people really want it, because I've had people call me, oh my God, Damon, help. I've relapsed again. This is the fifth time. I can't get it. I said, make your bed and call me back. And it's surprisingly the people who make their bed, the people who don't. And it's not about making their bed, it's about taking small
No, I
actions.
understand. I
If
understand.
you
It's about
can't take any
this.
direction to take small actions, which is do the opposite. It's like, you know what? Hey, you know what? I am totally broke and I am in totally despair. I'm getting kicked out of my apartment. Okay, get a job. Like do the next right action in front of you. I just
Right.
feel depressed. I feel worthless. Great. Go ahead and get a job, feeling depressed and getting worthless, but get a job. Move forward. Put the resumes
Move
out.
forward. Yep.
Call people. Move forward. Don't stop. And the people who stop, they get
Walk into the
consumed.
grocery store. Do you need help?
Yes.
Yeah.
And be of service, even if you don't feel like you're going to. The biggest, it's funny because, and I'm going to harken the word Alcoholics Anonymous because it's taken directly from there. So I'm not talking out of
Okay.
school. I have to
No.
quote this. There is some sort of thing going on with the service principle.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'd
I
love your
believe it.
opinion
I'm
on
not,
this.
I'll give you my opinion on it.
Talk, and this is and I don't want to tour from your recovery capital because this is recovery
Oh,
capital.
it's in there.
There
It
is
is.
something happens to people, especially alcoholics, and it doesn't have to just be of service to the people. It could be the neighbor, the old woman next door, and you're taking
Right.
her trash cans out because she can't and you can, and you don't say anything about it. You just do it, right? There's something about it that moves us when we can't move. I don't know what
Well,
it
I mean,
is.
I can tell you what it is. Think of
What
it.
is it?
It is full engagement of the body, mind, and soul of being selfless. You are doing something, you are thinking of the other person, you are moving and actually doing something for the other person, and you're bringing charity and love to that other person. There's like your whole body, mind, and soul are connected there. This is Shauna's theory. My
No, you're
opinion.
right. You're right. You're
But it
right.
is, and you're actually unable to think of yourself when you're thinking, I am doing this for someone else. You can't think of yourself. You can't think of how you're feeling in the moment, because if I walk over and I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I'm just going to drag these things up. You actually get a little hit of dopamine by doing something
Yes.
good for someone else. And the simplest thing, and I've said this to sponsees before, simplest thing, just write a general letter to someone that you think is a friend and mail it to a local or drop it off at a local senior center and just say, can you just give this and introduce yourself and who you are and what you do and how nice the day is. Just put some thoughts, put some quotes in it. Just writing this letter to brighten up your day. I hope you're doing well. I it's sunny, whatever. Just write, because people, that's really simple, because you can just take a piece of paper and a pen and drop it off at an old folks home or call them and, in an assisted living. Hey, is there someone there who's really lonely? I'd like to write them a letter, send a card, go to the dollar store and buy 5 cards and just send them, take them over there and ask.
Absolutely.
It's like so simple, but there's
It's so
5
simple.
actions there. But there's
Well,
5 actions there, right?
This is a big, I think people have, and I'd love your opinion on this because this is recovery capital. You constantly have to be growing spiritually.
Mhm.
And I also think in your life. So you're a successful businesswoman. You've done a lot. Every time I talk to you, you're doing something new. You're growing, right?
Mhm.
We were talking about businesses that we're starting and stuff like that the other day. Like,
Right.
we're always growing. And I know, like, if I stop growing in my personal life, in my spiritual life, in my recovery, if I stop growing, I'm in trouble. I'm in
Correct.
trouble. That's a warning sign that I'm stopping building recovery capital, because I do believe it's breaks if you don't build that buffer
Mm-hmm.
when you really need the breaks. They're not going to be there, and you're going to hit it to the floor. You're not going to stop. You're going to pull the emergency brake, and you're not going to stop because there's
Right.
nothing there to buffer you. And the more buffer you have from that first drink, because I will tell you, like, one of the biggest things that I've realized is, like, I don't have this. Like, I'm not, look, no one sent me you have graduated from alcoholism
Right.
certificate.
We're
I don't have
celebrating
this.
your 31 years, but we never graduate.
And maybe I'll have 32, maybe I will not. And people go, that is so, like, defeatist. I'm like, it's more realistic. It means I got to stay in the beginner's mind. And that's what I love
Right.
about the show, is because we could talk about things that are in the beginner's mind a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I'm taken back to the beginning often when I start to get certain thoughts or feelings that I don't take action on or don't share with someone else, and I start to have like thoughts in my head of, or if someone says, "How are you?" Okay, so my girlfriend, when she texted me and she said, "How are you?" I could have said, "Doing great." And that would have been dishonest, Damon, because I was struggling this morning. And it may not seem like a big deal that I couldn't get moving, but I have such a long list that I got overwhelmed, I got paralyzed, and then this negative talk comes in, right? So it is a spiral. But I have to be always honest. And that is one little step forward. But that's a beginning thing. That's, you just said staying in the beginning,
Yeah.
being honest, open, and willing.
Yeah.
Always. Those are the
Absolutely.
three things
Absolutely.
that we talk to newcomers about. Like, just be open, honest, and willing. I tell my sponsees that, or women that are new in the program, or clients, just be honest with me. Just don't lie, because one, I know you're lying. I'm really good. I was a teacher for a while, and I'm a mom, and I can see through liars. Oh, and I was an
Yeah.
alcoholic, so I was a liar. So I'm really good at knowing truths and untruths. And I used to tell my employees that, don't lie. We can fix anything. Just don't lie. Right. So
Yes.
just be
It's
honest,
so
just be
important.
open.
It's
But
so
I find
important.
myself, when my pride gets up and I don't want people to know I'm not doing great, I'll say, yeah, things are going really well. And they might not be. And then I spiral, but then I spiral behind the looking glass. And I could be taken right back out with doing that, right? Because I'm not being honest. So, as you said, you've got 31 years, could be 32. If you keep doing the deal, and if you
Yeah.
stay
If I keep
close to
doing the deal.
yeah, we got to keep
And
doing the deal.
now I think now it's more about, when I talked about your feelings don't matter. Now it is about those repeat feelings for me in recovery. Why do I in 31 years still have this or
Uh
this? It
huh.
is about addressing those
Mm-hmm.
issues now, right?
Right.
Because I can. But in early sobriety, I just, like you're talking about recovery capital, I just had to make sure that the brakes weren't going to fail and I don't go right into the wall at 80 miles an hour, because that would
Right.
be logical that I would do
Mm-hmm.
that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I had done before,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Now, let's go back to those early feelings. So, while you're in early recovery, too, it's always good to get, a lot of people have therapists or psychiatrists or whatever. You can talk about your feelings there, they can help you process them. This is not to say you're not allowed to have feelings.
Oh, you are.
Oh, you
Yeah.
absolutely are. It's just this is a program of action. So there are places for you to talk about your feelings, and we can acknowledge them and validate them. But what's the next right action to actually move forward? Because we don't move forward unless we're taking action.
Well, I have to tell you something. One of the things I've realized about alcoholics, me being one,
Mm-hmm.
having them in my family, and then also, I'm going to tell you this, having alcoholics around me. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing we do that's unlike anyone else is we can complicate a simple situation I mean, is it not crazy, Shauna? Like how we
Master's
can,
degrees in overthinking. That's what we
oh
have.
my God. And I'll tell you, I got to give a shout out. I did have a huge, I am going to share one thing here,
Yeah,
because
please.
I had a huge breakthrough this year. I had a couple big breakthroughs, but one I wish I would have gotten a long time ago. And here it is. And it was
Okay.
business. And I'm going to and this came not from an alcoholic, not from anyone in recovery. This came from my accountability coach, Mia Redrick. And just shout out to Mia Redrick here. She has nothing to do with the
Yay,
recovery
Mia.
community. Okay. But I will tell you this. Mia is a very successful business coach, primarily to women. And she said, Damon, how would you do it if it was simple?
What?
And that blew my mind. She said, because I was talking, I was like, well, I have to do this. I have to do this. And it came into doing things. She goes, what would that look like if it was simple to do? How would you execute this if it was simple? And that has changed my whole game, because I'm like, Oh, well, if I had to do it and it was simple, so I wanted to launch this new web page for something. And I was like, well, I can't do it that because of this, and I got to do this and this and this. And she's like, well, if it was simple, how would you do it? If this is, and I would go, oh, I would just write some copy, put the page up, and then start promoting it. She's like, yes, exactly. Do that, do that, right? Like, and because I get so enmeshed in the details of things
Hmm.
that I can't, that I stop executing. And then when I stop executing, it comes back to the old 12-step thing. It's like, well, I'm not taking action. And I've not, and then I beat myself up for it. It's this big cycle. How could, what would that look like if I did this and it was simple? Oh, I'd just go do this. And that has changed and that's what I do. It's like, if I can't execute a complex action, how can I execute a simple action around a
Hmm.
complex idea? And
Right.
that's been a big game changer for me to make
I like it.
huge strides. Oh, I could make the doctor's appointment. I could not eat that as opposed to this. I don't have to do a whole diet plan, right? Like I could and that has been a huge game changer for me this year.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. And reflecting on, I didn't think of it that way, but reflecting on, how I exercise, I keep it really simple, having the hand weights in different rooms and just doing 10 reps at a time 10 times a day, right? Like just keeping it really
Yeah.
simple as opposed to going into the gym for an hour and having a workout and I love working with the trainer, but I can't wrap my mind around that. So keeping that simple. But, I have to relate it to what I'm doing. This morning, what did I do to keep it simple? I literally got the dog off my lap and stood up, right? Like that was the
Oh,
first
yeah,
action
yeah,
and keep it
yeah.
simple. And then I took the water out of the microwave for the hummingbirds. That was the next action. And then I made an espresso. That was the next keep. So if my day, how did I simplify my day? I broke it down into really, really clearly, very minute chunks. And then inertia almost takes over, right? Because you're starting to move forward and the actual drag of inertia like keeps you moving forward.
Well, see, and in an alcoholic mind, I say, shit, she's managing hummingbirds, flocks of hummingbirds. Shauna is managing. I'm just trying to like get on the Zoom call, right? Like, so that it
Okay,
is
it's not
crazy about how
flocks.
it
It's that I just like watching the hummingbirds and I
I
feel
do
bad because their
too.
feeders are empty.
I do too. They're spiritual guides. I tell you, they drop right in front of my face, and it always reminds me, take a minute to enjoy life.
Hmm.
Just enjoy what's
Hmm.
going on right now. That is the other thing too, which has been my goal for the last 5 years, is just to have fun, just to try to
Yes.
have fun, to enjoy it, the process, that even if I feel lost, it's okay to feel lost, and that just keep going, and that everything's going to be fine. At the end of the day, everything is going to be fine.
Everything is going to be fine. And I love that because, when we prep for these, I'm like always like, what's the topic? What's this? What's that? And, some of the feedback that we've received is that they just like people just like us chit chatting about it because, we're not experts. We are just trying to do the deal. Right. And so I see that as even what we're doing. We're having fun with this. We're not trying to like we hope someone can take something that we've said and say, "Oh, that's a different way to look at it." But we're just having fun. I've said this many times. I love just jibber jawing with you, getting on here and chatting, and I agree with you. Finding some fun and having some fun in life, and making sure we work that in. You're right. That's so important for us because we forget about it because we want to just be productive. So thanks
How
for
long
reminding
does
me to
it
have
take
some
you?
fun.
Of course, you know what? Because you have a really beautiful life. Like I've met your
Mhm.
daughter, and we've
Yeah.
met each other in person, and the whole thing. And you've got a great family. And the inspiring thing about you is that you're really honest, and I like that because there is authentic. Being authentic, I think, is so important with all of these
Hmm.
gurus. I mean, the reality is that getting sober is difficult sometimes for people.
It
Emotionally,
is.
it's difficult, okay? And that it is a long haul sometimes, right? And you're not always going to feel it. And I think it's okay just to say that. We're in this hustle culture where everything's got to be great, Instagram perfect all the time. And the
Mhm.
reality is there's a lot of value in saying I'm not feeling it today. I'm just
Yeah.
not feeling it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't feeling it. and then I took some action. I was feeling okay, but then look at the connection, us getting on, having some fun. I feel all charged up now,
Well,
ready to take on
how
the rest of the
bad?
day.
Yes.
That's connection.
How bad can you feel? You have saved the whole North Carolina hummingbird population. You've got to feel
Just
good,
the three
Shauna.
that's, yeah. Well, I haven't put the food out yet. It's still cooling. So when we're done, I'll go and do that. But yes,
Well,
no,
this
how
has
bad
been a
can I
lot of
feel? My
fun.
daughter, yeah. My daughter just woke up, teenager in the summer, and I get to see her when we're done with this and make our list. And yeah, I mean, life is good.
Yes.
Life is good. I am sober today, and that is almost enough some days. I'm sober. Some days are just going to be a 2, Damon. Some days are going to be a 10. And mine has gone from a 2 to at least an 8 so far, because let's go back to this, the power of connection, and we'll leave on
Yes.
that. You
Yes.
didn't do it's a we program in 31 years and celebrate you. Like, let's celebrate you.
Thank you very much.
And the power of the us, the power of the we, right? You
Yeah,
didn't
you're
do
not
this
going to get
alone.
sober your own. I am somebody, by the way, just so everybody knows, because sometimes I come across as that, my personality I've found is that I try to make everything good, even though if I don't feel that it is. And
Right.
sometimes that's a good thing because
She
I then
knows.
just walk into it being good, but it is, you need other people. And this has been
Mhm.
I get a ton out of talking with you because you're my kind of people, right? Like I love what you're doing. I love
Right.
your
Same.
energy. You're a good person. And the thing is that I
Thanks.
well, you are, you know what? And the thing is, I can appreciate that. I couldn't appreciate that when I was out drinking, right? Like that's
Right.
something I would never have seen. But the interesting thing about this whole journey is that there is something that happens in the connection with another alcoholic. And I am, to close on this, baffled still
Hmm.
when I could pick up literature from the 30s and they had this a long time and they're saying stuff like keep it simple and they're saying stuff like, and man, that hasn't changed. And I have to understand that although some things have changed in recovery,
Right.
like trauma and medications, and there's some things that have
Yeah.
changed, a good 98% of it, man, has not. And it's the solution is there. I just have to wake up and just do what's in front of me.
Right.
And it's really not that complex. And if there's complexity to it, it's me making it complex.
Making it complex. Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. Just don't drink. Don't drink and don't be a jerk.
Don't drink.
That's
And if you're struggling, contact Shauna because I think this is cool.
Because there are some people can't get sober on their own and they have to go to treatment. I mean, contact me. I am a treatment planner. I visit treatment centers all the time. Contact me for sure.
I needed treatment, but back in the time, it was not there for me.
No.
It just was not. I didn't even know
No.
about it, right? Like, and it was like I was kind of separated from family during that period of time, so I didn't even know about treatment, right? But
Right.
I think it's such a great to be
And
able
we
to
have
take
so
the
many
time
levels
out.
of care now too. So many
Yes.
levels of care.
Yes, and I think you're a good guide for that because I think
Thank you.
having the right, and shout out to George and, Kevin and Christy and all these people who I never would have made it this far if I didn't have the right guides. I would have been lost. I
Right.
wouldn't even have been here, to be quite honest with you. So shout out to them and thank you so much, Shauna, for doing these weekly episodes with me.
Okay,
It's been
I
great.
just
Thank
want
you,
to
guys.
point out to everybody that I tried my best to be the host, but did you see who took over again? Like I
did.
tried. I really tried at the beginning and then you took over again. So we'll try
I'll
again
let
another
you end
time.
it. I'll let you end it. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. No, that's what you bring to the table, Damon. So thank you everybody for joining us and may you have another great week in recovery. Reach out to us and share these videos and just spend time getting to know us. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to submit questions for us and we're happy to answer them on the air. So thanks, Damon. Have a great week. I know you're traveling cross country later this week, so be safe. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, if you like this episode, think about supporting us by becoming a Recovered Life Plus member. At Recovered Life TV, we're not just delivering premium recovery resources, we're empowering you with the knowledge and tools that make a real difference in the quality of your recovery. By subscribing, you gain access to ad-free content, expert insights, exclusive video and audio segments, special projects, plus so much more, all while supporting our mission to spread the recovery message far and wide. Whether you're seeking to deepen your understanding or stay updated on the latest addiction and mental health recovery trends, Recovered Life Plus is for you. Subscribe now and start living your best recovered life. Just go to recoveredlife.tv and become a Plus member today.